Ganito mahirap kung biglang bumuhos yung biglang mga hangin. Kaya yun, lumipad yung mga bubong ng mga bahay namin.
Grabe! Mula nung pinanganak ako, nagkaroon ako ng kaalaman. Ngayon lang nangyari sa buhay ko na ganito kalakas sa tubig-graw. Grabe! Noong 1989, baha lang. Pero ito pinakagrabe sa lahat.
Nakatatakot sir iba to talaga sir, iba. Mas malakas kaysa yung nakarang yung bagyo na Yolanda. Kasi maraming nasira.
Nakainom kami na, tignan namin hindi kami na makatulog. Siyempre makatulog ka naman doon sa loob ng bahay na baha na lahat hanggang dito na sa loob.
Lumipat pa ako matulog at siyempre lahat yung tubig gumaganon sa tulugan ko Nabasa pa ako kaya hindi ako nakatulog magita
Isipo lang hangin, hindi kami nakatulog magkama kasi babagay namin. Tubig, baka biglang pumasok ng kwarto namin.
Yun ay random Kasi siyempre kami, takot na baka anong mangyari, ganun.
Kaya lumikas po kami sa ibang lugar. Tapos ito, paparating na naman ang baha. Kaya kailangan na namin makuha yung gamit namin dito para yung hindi maano sa kasi paparating na yung baha na naman.
Hindi, kung pwede nga lang mag-evacuate ka, di ba? Kung iwas lang. Wala, di rin maiwan yung bahay, alang iwanan namin.
Yung mga bubong, mga bahay, yung mga poste namin ng Kagilko, maraming natumba. Walang konta nga sir walang signal
Hanggang sa inantay na lang namin na matapos yung bagyo. Kaya nakakatakot, sobra.
Yung totally na nasira ngayon na dun sa baha po, mga more than 50 hectares po. Bali dun sa baha po, mga 50 hectares. Pero yung totally damage po ng bagyo dito sa Tulay lang po, more than 100 hectares po.
Yung nasira lang yung bahay ko. Pero yung hindi pa natapos yung pinagpitas ko sa mais. Ito po yung nasira sa bagyo. Tumubo. Sa 4 hectares yung nakuha ko lang, mga 20 kabanda. Tapos nasira yung bahay.
Doon, wala na kaming natitirahan ngayon.
Well, yung na-experience namin, it was the strongest in terms of strength and the longest. It took the super typhoon maintain yung strength for about 4 hours. So napakatagal. From I think 10 o'clock until 2, 3 o'clock in the early morning.
Pag sinabi natin mas devastated, no, alam naman kasi natin na 800 kilometer yung diameter nitong super typhoon Lawin. So, pwede nating sabihin na lahat ng nasa Cagayan at saka sa Northern Isabela part ay talagang affected nitong super typhoon Lawin. So, pero since andito tayo sa Tuguegarao City at ang pinaglandfallan ng bagyo ay ang Peñablanca, so ang concentration natin yung malapit sa mata ng bagyo talaga kasi super lakas ng hangin doon. So, ito tinitignan nga natin, magkakandak ng RDNA, magsisend ng RDNA teams ang Central at saka ang RDRMC2 para magkandak ng assessment dito sa mga municipalities na affected itong Super Typhoon Lawin.
So, it's really a big challenge on us sapagkat katatapos lamang ng bagyong Karen. And with Karen ay namataan na po ng pag-asa ang parating na silawin. Ang lahat po ng pagpa-prepare ay ginawa ng pag-asa. We had that instruction to all the network, the members of the network, yung ating mga synoptic station, radar stations, upper air station, aviation station, agromet station. Lahat po ay pinaghanda natin in terms of supplies and readiness ng mga tao sapagkat talaga pong nagmamataan po ang Lawin ay kinakitaan na po ito ng signature na ito'y magiging isang napakalakas na bagyo.
Well, a lot of learnings, A lot of learnings. Siguro unang-una dun sa ating mga communication system, right now there are a lot of things that we need to improve, especially the communication system, because we relied so much on commercial networks na pag ito ay na-disrupt yung kanilang operations o nag-back down, wala na tayong means of communication to the outside world. Second is you comfort your people. I mean, dapat importante na since kami ang we are the vice chair for disaster prevention and mitigation, dapat we were trained on this. Dapat talagang pag ganito may mga calamities, kami yung nasa front line. So dapat we should always be ready. third siguro yung ating designs of buildings. Siguro we have to review yung ating local building code and our people, our people, we should train our people so that, sabi ko nga, one of the challenge is to go back to normal life immediately. So dapat talaga yung ating mga tao bumalik sa normalcy the soonest possible time para at least makalimutan natin yung ganito at makatulong tayo kasi tayo nga yung nasa frontline, dapat talaga makatulong tayo.
Kakalungkot man, pero talagang ganun. Wala namang may kagustuhan yan. We did our best. At marami naman ang nagpapasalamat at nakapaghanda.
Actually, yung families din po namin affected, pero dahil nga ito ay isang bukod lang sa trabaho, siyempre nais din namin makatulong na makabagon sa pinakamabilis na panahon ang mga kababayan natin dito sa Cagayan. Meron nga tayong ugali dito na tinatawag natin sa Ibanag na pinakarofon o bayanihan. Pasalamat tayo, no. Meron kaming sa akin, no, meron akong personal na 3 factors kung bakit makikita natin na parang bumabangon na ang Region 2 sa kabila ng isang signal number 5 na typhoon na masabi mas malakas pa kay Super Typhoon Yolanda. Una, dahil sa aming terrain, dahil pinoprotektahan kami ng Sierra Madre. Pangalawa, divine intervention ng Our Lady of God, ng ating pong may kapal. At pangatlo, no, dahil sa ganda ng response effort at saka preparedness ng mga government agencies dito. 2 days ahead pa lang nung nalaman na may tatama ditong bagyo, kahit hindi pa nila sinabing super typhoon to, ay nakapag-prepared na ang mga LGUs natin at nagkandak pa sila ng preemptive evacuation. At dahil sa kasanayan na rin at kahandaan ng mga residente dito sa Region 2 ay talagang sumunod naman yung karamihan dito sa ating preemptive evacuation.
Pag tumama dito sa Cagayan, magsisignal number 5 tayo. Tama rin yung sinabi nila kasi naghanda rin kami. Oo. Okay yung sinabi nila. Nakapaghanda kami. Okay yung sa pag-asa. Saludo ako.
Pagka pagupit ng bagyo to, sinabi naman nila agad na malakas tong bagyo. Nanood kami ng TV yung tapos sinabi ng boss namin na talaga pinaghandaan namin tong bagyo.
Sana hindi na maulit. Sa lahat ng nangyari kahapon, sana hindi na maulit kasi nakakatakot. Yun lang. Sa awa ng Diyos, at least buong family kami. Kahit maraming nasira sa amin, buo pa rin yung pamilya namin na nangyari sa amin. Yun lang.
Pinaghandaan naman namin dahil sa government natin, sa weather forecast. Malaki pasalamat natin at ang weather forecast ay updated. Yun ang maganda. Namomonitor natin. Kaya walang nasira o walang nasaktan sa pamilya, sa mga kaibigan. Lahat ng kaibigan ko, text ko sila habang may load pa ako, may signal pa. Wala naman sila nasaktan. Bubong lang, tanggal, gano'n lang. Salamat naman sa may kapal sa Diyos. Wala namang damage sa amin. Hindi bali na, ganitong nasira lahat. Huwag lang pamilya na magkaroon ng problema.
Hindi namin nasa na ganitong mangyari.
Walang nasaktan. Ito lang. May nawasak din. Walang nasaktan sa amin kasi nakapaghanda kami. Kaya, thank you sa pag-asa.
The Greater Metropolitan Manila area has a long history of natural disasters and extreme weather events. Following the calamity of Typhoon Ondoy in September 2009, which caused about 500 deaths and damage of about 41 billion pesos, the Greater Metropolitan Manila Area Risk Analysis Project was begun. Covering the 16 cities and 1 municipality of Metropolitan Manila, as well as parts of Bulacan, Cavite, and Rizal, the study looked at the hazards of flood, wind, and earthquake. The project is a collaboration between the technical agencies of the Government of Philippines, supported by the Government of Australia Aid Program and Geoscience Australia. The aim of the project has been to give a much clearer understanding of the risks from natural disasters, of where the risks are greatest, and of how the dangers can be reduced. This analysis identifies 3 main types of potential risk: flooding in the Pasig-Marikina River Basin, severe winds associated with tropical cyclones, and risks from damaging earthquakes from the West Valley Fault. Natural hazard risk analysis involves understanding the relationship between a hazard, the exposure or elements at risk, and the vulnerability of those elements. Risk can be expressed in terms of physical damage, economic loss, or the number of people killed or injured. Information was developed that first built an understanding of how people live and work in the Greater Metropolitan Manila area. The study area included the low-lying areas along Manila Bay and Laguna de Bay, the flood-prone Pasig-Marikina River Basin, the elevated areas in Rizal Province to the east, and the West Valley Fault, which passes north to south through the metropolitan area. LiDAR, light detection and ranging, was the first major set of data to be collected. An aircraft flying over the Greater Metropolitan Manila area used a special laser scanning device to measure the profile of the landform and the heights of such features as trees and buildings. From these measurements, a digital elevation model, or DEM, was constructed. The model gives us an overview of an area that is home to about 12 million people. But where do they live? Where do they work? And what makes them vulnerable to natural hazards? Using the best available data from many sources, a picture of the built environment is developed, of building density, of population density, of the current land use, of building heights, and of the complex mixture of the age and type of buildings that are present across the metropolitan area. All of the information about the characteristics of exposure that are needed for risk analysis have been gathered and organised into a spatially enabled exposure database. To estimate the vulnerability of buildings exposed to natural hazards, engineering models for different building types were developed. Not all buildings will experience the same level of damage when they are exposed to the same level of hazard. For example, engineered reinforced concrete buildings will, on average, suffer less damage than unreinforced masonry buildings when subjected to the same level of ground shaking. Hence, vulnerability models were developed for different building types to characterise the average economic loss for each building type. Economic damage is complex. Low-cost buildings may be destroyed and be inexpensively replaced, but high-cost, well-constructed buildings may suffer minor damage that is relatively expensive to repair. All of this is reflected in datasets estimating the costs of damage. The relationship between wind and the landscape changes the impact of severe winds on the city. Winds increase in ferocity as they flow over hills, over ridges, and over high ground. Areas such as the open space of the airport, of Manila Bay, and of the riverbanks experience higher wind speeds than built-up areas. Knowing wind strength means knowing how buildings, billboards, and shanties will be affected. The areas of greatest damage can be seen in the mountainous regions in the east and along the escarpment of the West Valley Fault. The steep topography in these areas, combined with the presence of wooden and makeshift structures in the rural areas, are the reason for the high level of damage. Flood projections are calculated from known rainfall figures. Metro Manila has experienced catastrophic flood events along the Marikina Valley and the San Juan River and can expect more. The figures that have been calculated show that there is a possibility of a flood bigger than has been experienced in recent times. The results also show how damaging floodwaters can be expected to move through the city over a period of 48 hours, how high floodwaters will reach, and what the area of inundation will be. Damage is widespread in low-lying parts of the city and adjacent the main river systems. A particularly large damage hotspot occurs in the city of Marikina, where deep floodwaters combine with a high proportion of wooden and makeshift structures, which are easily damaged by flooding. As with winds and flood, the mapping of earthquake events can be related to what is known of land use, and physical and economic damage can be mapped according to where the most fragile forms of housing have been constructed. The population affected can be mapped, and so can the economic damage because of the land use and construction methods. A range of earthquake events were used as the basis for calculations. The hotspots, clearly seen following the West Valley Fault, and areas lining Manila Bay, both the expectation of strong shaking and the high concentration of easily damaged buildings explain this. Risk analysis is employed for locating the areas at risk and quantifying the risk posed by earthquake, severe wind, and flood. We can illustrate this with the example of earthquakes by combining information on the three parts to risk and plotting the quantity of risk. By comparing formal settlements, major commercial areas, and informal settlements, we can see how the measure of risk changes. The factors considered are hazard, which describes the likely intensity of an earthquake in that area; exposure, which describes the number and type of buildings that may be at risk to earthquake; and vulnerability, which indicates the expected physical damage and economic loss, which varies from high for makeshift structures to low for reinforced concrete buildings. By identifying those places at greatest risk, we can highlight areas where, for example, modifications to land development or building practices would have most value. By identifying the most at-risk areas, local government units have the opportunity to adapt their planning in new developments and identify those places which, being most at risk, will need early warning of flood danger, early intervention, and assistance. The data products that have been produced by the Greater Metropolitan Manila Area Risk Analysis are free and will be readily accessible from the Office of Civil Defence and the Philippines Geo Portal. They will be provided to each local government unit, which can update the data and build their own database for planning, designing and implementing projects, mitigation activities, and contingency planning. Flood, earthquake and severe winds will always be a threat to the Greater Metropolitan Manila area. The risk analysis tools help us to understand, prepare for and survive these hazards. Australia stands ready to support the Philippines in this effort. By jointly investing in building the resilience of communities to natural disasters, we can contribute to a safer future for all Filipinos.
DOSTv would like to thank Filipino Creazione de Mano Incorporated. Visit their showroom at ground floor lobby, PSMBFI Building, 318 Santolan Road, West Crames, San Juan City. SciDev, the world's leading source of reliable and authoritative news, views, and analysis on information about science and technology for global development. Visit their website at www.scidev.net.